Welcome to Tell Me Some More with me, your host, Dr. Sheva, clinical psychologist and curious human about all things emotions, relationships, connection, and growth. My mission is to help you in improving your self-confidence and your relationships, both with yourself as well as with others, and to increase your awareness around the topics that actually matter in order to live an intentional, fulfilling life. Each week, I'll be releasing one episode that will either be a solo session with me or a conversation with an expert in a different field. While I hope that you find this information helpful, it's not intended to be a substitute for mental health or medical treatment or professional advice. Now let's get curious and help you to have more of the life and the relationships that you desire and so deserve. Enjoy, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tell Me Some More with Dr. Sheva. I am Dr. Sheva, and I'm so excited to have you here for this first episode. This is my first ever podcast episode, and I'm very excited about the launch of this podcast. By the time you all hear this episode, it will be in a few weeks. And so I am super excited for you all to hear it and to hopefully be part of this community with me. And also, it's something that I'm quite nervous about and feel quite vulnerable within. It's a different way of connecting and serving individuals, ones that I'm not used to and is quite out of my comfort zone. And so thank you for joining me in this journey. A little bit about me. I am a licensed clinical psychologist and I have extensive experience in the field of psychology. I have received my undergrad in psychology and then further pursued my master's and my doctoral degrees in psych. I got my master's degree in psychology with an emphasis in marriage and family therapy, and then pursued my doctoral degree in clinical psychology, as well as really focused on multicultural psychology and the influence of culture on our experiences. I then got my fellowship in my postdoctoral fellowship in working with young adults. And I will tell you, throughout my professional and my academic journey, and honestly, even before my undergraduate years, I have always been very curious about individuals, about why we do the things that we do, what influences our behaviors, our understandings of situations, what influences the ways that we respond to ourselves behaviorally, the ways we treat ourselves, and the relationships that we get into, and the people that we end up partnering with and starting a life with. And so I think my curiosity and my desire to delve a little deeper and really understand the many nuances and different factors that influence all of our experiences, as well as my desire to really serve and support others, is what drew me to the field. And it's ultimately what has drawn me towards wanting to launch this podcast. I really hope that this podcast will be a way for me to serve and reach a greater number of individuals and really support them in supporting their overall well-being, prioritizing their well-being in their relationships, but also living a life that is more intentional, that is more meaningful to them, whatever that may look like. My desire to really focus on supporting each one of you and living intentional and meaningful lives really comes from both my personal and my professional experiences. So a little bit about me personally. So I'm Iranian American. I'm very family oriented, deeply connected to my small group of friends, people who I regularly lean on and who I think, see me in my most authentic state. And I'm really grateful just for the love and support that I have around me. I'm also someone who just loves to support and be there for others and really empower them to being their best selves, whatever that may look like. And so going back to why I started this podcast, I think, looking back on my younger experiences, even to the point that I was in grad school and going through that process, I was someone who really struggled with self-doubt. I struggled with my confidence. I struggled with imposter syndrome. I, really didn't own fully who I was, and didn't make as much as the intentional decisions as maybe I would have hoped that I would have made. And I really, struggled during those times with my own relationship with myself. And looking back, there's so many tools, so much awareness that I have now that I look back and I'm like, if I only had that then, or if I only saw myself in the way that was more objective, in the ways that maybe I now see myself from from the older version of me sees my younger self. And so my experience and this sentiment that I'm sharing with you of not fully seeing myself accurately and confidently and authentically and really owning who I was and making decisions that were more empowering or more connected to the life that I wanted to live, that sentiment is something that I also experience in my professional life with other people. It's something that I'll hear from a lot of young professionals, right? People who are thriving within their lives professionally, who are doing so well. And externally, it seems like, they're living that dream life, right? They're meeting all of those goals, all of those milestones, and yet they may not internally feel it, or they may not be prioritizing the areas of their lives that would allow them to experience the greatest benefits, to experience the greatest sense of meaning. And so for that reason, I'm hoping that this podcast can be an avenue, a way for us to come together as a community and pay attention to those topics, to those concepts that maybe naturally we wouldn't be attending to, or maybe because of the developmental phase that we're in, maybe it's not the norm to attend to. What I mean by this is like, in every developmental phase that we're in, we may be more heavily focused on one area of our life. So maybe through our schooling years, it's more academics, and it's our professional success. Then it may be finding a partner, child rearing, all of these things. And although that makes sense, I also wonder how amazing would it be if we would be able to focus on all or most of the areas that are most connected to our wellness, that are most connected to our sense of fulfillment, not just at one point within our life, but across the different points within our lives. How beautiful would it be is if when we are prioritizing our professional success, we're also prioritizing these other areas that we know will also pay off for us in the long term, like our health, our relationships, our self-care, our mindset. These are things that I didn't prioritize or didn't experience growing up or in my own experiences, and also things that I see many people struggle with prioritizing more fully. And so my hope is that I can raise more awareness around those concepts, those topics that aren't being discussed as much, that we aren't as aware of, and talk about really tangible beneficial ways that we can start prioritizing them, maybe strategies, tools that will really help us in prioritizing those areas. I think so often when we are going through our different life experiences, we have this idea of what success looks like. And so often our definition of success, our definition of happiness is connected to a goal, or it's connected to an external factor. We may be thinking, if I just hit this goal or I hit this milestone, then I will be happy. I will experience fulfillment or success. And although that it can be true, and it has been true in a lot of ways for me as well, when I think about my professional experiences, there are also so many other ways to more fully experiencing success. How do we experience success that continues to support us, continues to feed us even after we've met that goal? I know for me, when I was thinking about success, I had a very limited definition of what success meant. And now, years later, given my experiences that I've had, given the work that I've done on myself, given just the years that I've passed, the wisdom that comes with that, I have a much more expansive definition of success, a much more expansive definition of fulfillment, one which I'm hoping to help you in cultivating and experiencing more, so that you can have a definition that, again, not only serves you in this moment, in this phase of your life, but is one that you can look back on and feel like has set the foundation for the success and fulfillment that you continue to experience across different experiences of your life. So during this podcast, I will be sharing with you solo episodes with myself, of course, and episodes with other experts in different fields to really expose each one of us and really raise awareness around those topics that are incredibly important for our mental health, for our wellness, for our ability to live a more intentional, meaningful life, right? And to cultivate a life that is going to be most fulfilling to us and is ultimately going to serve us and pay off for us just in this moment, but in the long term. So I'll be focusing a lot on our relationship with ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves, our confidence, our mindset, ways that we can support ourselves, and practices that ultimately pay off, right? Self-care practices, daily practices that are going to serve us in the long term. I'll also be focusing on our relationships with other people. What we know from the research is that so much of our mental health is connected to the health of our relationships with others. And so, what are the ways that we can improve our sense of understanding, our sense of connection, our sense of trust, support, ability to work together in our relationships in ways that are most healthy, in ways that are most beneficial, and really allow us to experience the benefits of healthy relationships? And in all of that, as I mentioned, I will be focusing on our relationship with ourselves, because I think in every relationship and every experience, we take ourselves in. And so we want to be more aware as to who we are taking in, what are our expectations, what are the ways that we are responding and influencing our experiences, and of course, strategies that will help us in our different interpersonal relationships. In addition to helping to really raise awareness around those key areas that help us to experience more healthy, more supportive, enjoyable, relationships, I also want to help in providing awareness and strategy and tools for how to navigate relationships when they become a little more difficult, when there are disagreements, when there's conflict. How do we resolve conflict in a way that's going to bring us closer, in a way that's going to help us to have more clarity, more awareness, more connection with one another as people, and more connection within ourselves? We'll also be focusing on different practices, as I mentioned, different ways to support ourselves, different ways to cope with different stressors, and really promote our sense of resilience within life as we navigate through the many different stressors that so many of us are going through during this time. And ultimately, my hope is to help you all in living a life that is most authentic to you, that is most meaningful and most intentional. I think so often we make decisions or set goals based on society expectations, based on our families, cultural factors. I know I've done that many times, but how can we set those expectations, those ideals based on what's most true for us, based on what's going to be most fulfilling for us? Because when we're able to do that, when we're aware of what is most fulfilling for us and how to take action in a way that is most meaningful or fulfilling for us, then those are the things that are going to be most sustainable, that are going to serve us most in the long term, and ultimately contribute to the greatest amount of satisfaction within our lives. So my hope is to support you in living a life that is most intentional, most meaningful, and help you to feel most confident, most yourself, within your relationship within yourselves, within your relationship with others, and have more and more of those experiences that you would benefit from and that you ultimately deserve. So as mentioned, each episode will be released weekly. So look forward to either episodes with myself, other episodes with other experts. I would love to hear from you if there's a topic, a concept area that you are interested in learning more about, or for me to engage in more dialogue around. So feel free to message me on Instagram at Dr. Sheva. And I definitely will be looking forward to just receiving your feedback, your comments around topics that are of interest to you, as well as just hearing your feedback about this podcast. If you are wanting to just engage in more dialogue around the topics that, we know to be, or I find to be most beneficial to our well-being, to our fulfillment, to us living a life that is most meaningful to us, definitely click subscribe on this podcast and you will be informed of whenever I release one episode. But to get us started, I have a few episodes that you can listen to either back to back or at different points to really get you started to the variety of different topics that I'll be focusing on, from mental health, from wellness, from ways to prioritize our physical and our emotional well-being, to ways to have healthier relationships, closer relationships, communicate our needs, nutritionists, we'll be talking to dermatologists. There are many very areas that we're going to be looking at and really engaging in dialogue about. I am so, so excited, and I appreciate you all supporting me in this. And I'm so excited to connect more with you and really cultivate a community where we are talking about the things that really matter, talking about the things that are connected most to our well-being, most consistent with living a life that is intentional, that is meaningful. That is what I want for you all, that you are making decisions that best serve you and seeing yourself most fully and helping to set up a life that is going to be most meaningful to you. So, looking forward to connecting more. And again, thank you for supporting me. Excited to start this journey with you and to really see where this podcast goes and really support one another throughout the process. Thank you again, everyone. Take care. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in to Tell Me Some More with Dr. Sheva. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're enjoying the podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe, share, and write me a 5-star review on iTunes so that we can build this wonderful community and support others in living fulfilling lives. Just a reminder that this podcast and the information shared is solely for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. It's not meant to be a substitute for mental health or medical treatment or advice. If you're looking for additional support in your journey, please seek out a qualified professional. Until next time, everyone, talk soon.